Death is not the end, Part 2. Hi, I'm Reverend Andrew Bozeman, and this is On the Wings of Your Mind. Today is Wednesday, February 24, 2021, and we're continuing on our discussion of the probability that death is not the end. Now, the indigenous people of the world and the spiritual teachings of the so-called third world countries support the idea that there is life after death. And they actually honor life after death as a part of their lives. They honor the people who have passed on and the value to them in their lives. Now, we, on the other hand, have a problem with that. The so-called developed Western countries, the advanced Western countries, we reject such ideas, and we've generally quashed the belief that there is life after death because science doesn't support it. Fortunately, there are a number of people in the scientific world who do not accept that, who do not reject the possibility that there is life after death. Their curiosity has driven them to begin asking questions and collecting data to see what the real story is behind the possibility that death is not the end. So, please, click on the thumbs up button below, and if you haven't already done so, please choose to subscribe. Remember, I would love to hear your thoughts, your comments, your questions. So if you're viewing this on Wednesday, February 24th, please use the chat box to the right side of the screen. If you're viewing this at any other time other than Wednesday at 3 p.m., then you're viewing this in replay, so I ask you to use the comment section below the video. Excuse me. As I said, please click on the thumbs up button below the video. Yesterday, and if you would, please subscribe. Yesterday we talked about near-death experiences. We talked about mediums and seances. And I revealed to you that I'm a member of a spiritualist church here in Western New York State. And I shared a couple of the declarations from our statement of principles, the statement of principles from the National Association of Spiritualist Churches. Principle number 4 states, we affirm that the existence and personal identity of the individual continues after the change called death. That's number 4. Excuse me. Let me drink some water here. Okay, and then principle number 5 states that we affirm that communication with the so-called dead is a fact, scientifically proven by the phenomena of spiritualism. Okay, so the continuation of life after death is real, even if our culture and our society says it's not. Our society rejects it to the point that people who do believe in that possibility are often shamed out of it, or they're forced to hide their belief and deny that they ever thought anything about that stuff, that ridiculous possibility. But today, we're going to talk about it. And we're going to talk about an even more ridiculous aspect of that possibility, reincarnation. Reincarnation is also known as rebirth or transmigration, and is defined as the philosophical or religious belief that the non-physical essence of a living being, our consciousness, begins a new life in a different physical form or body after biological death. Reincarnation is a belief that exists and is supported in the Eastern religions. So when someone claims reincarnation, they are not ridiculed or rejected in those worlds. In fact, the current Dalai Lama of Tibet claims to be the reincarnation of the previous Dalai Lama, and he's carrying on his work. And his followers accept that as fact because he passed the test designed to prove he was who he said he was. At one time, believe it or not, reincarnation was part of early Christianity. It was actually part of the Bible. Its strongest promoter was a man named Origen of Alexandria. And he was one of Christianity's earliest theologians. And at one time he was proclaimed the greatest genius the early church has ever produced. The greatest genius the early church had ever produced. But then they turned on him. Turns out that the case against reincarnation was actually a political move by the Emperor of Rome, Emperor Constantine, who made Christianity the official religion of Rome. But he couldn't live with reincarnation. He felt the people would be easier to control if they thought they had only one life, rather than they had the opportunity to come back and make it better. So that was the beginning of wiping out reincarnation in Christianity. And then a century and a half later, the Emperor Justinian the Great of Rome ordered that all references to reincarnation be burned, and that Origen be declared a heretic, and all of his works were condemned and banned. And so reincarnation in Christianity became a dead issue. It no longer existed. Today in our modern world, talk of past lives has become a joke. I mean, in movies, people who talk of past lives are usually ditzy female characters that no one takes seriously. It's a joke. The actress Shirley Maclaine has spoken often of past lives, even though some try to dismiss her because of it. They make fun of her like that, a lot like that, because of her talk about past lives. But Shirley's pretty strong in her beliefs. She said in her latest book, called I'm Over All That, she said in her latest book, I mean, each of us has multiple experiences in past lifetimes that equip our souls with memories and intuitions that cannot be explained any other way. How did I know and recognize streets and temples when I first went to India? Why did I find myself speaking Portuguese when I was in Brazil? Each human being can point to any number of similar experiences, specific moments that make them wonder why and how they know what they know. So I believe, Shirley, and I believe that when you actually think about it, without the prejudices of our society, when you actually think about reincarnation, it makes sense. After all, the purpose of reincarnation, according to most religions, is to give the soul the opportunity to grow through many experiences towards spiritual perfection with the goal of eventually rising above the repeated rebirths to a point where they are free and rise above the physical level to become higher spirits. It makes more sense than having just one physical life and only one chance to attain a level of spiritual acceptance by God. I have had the profound experiences of exploring my past lives, both through past life regression and spontaneous remembrances of past lives. I can remember being often curious as to why I was so drawn to the spiritual life as a minister. Then I later discovered that this was not my first life as a minister. I experienced several lives as priests or ministers. At one time, I experienced being an itinerant minister in Kansas. I remember driving a one-horse wagon across the plains from church to church. I remembered the dust of those trips and the rough ride of the wagon without shock absorbers. I remembered the people who came to hear me deliver sermons to them on my travels. I was a minister in Kansas. Another spontaneous memory that came to me during an intense meditation exercise while I was a student at Amron Mystery School. I remember standing suddenly, vividly. I was in a moving wagon and I was tied up. And I was wearing robes of a monk. And the people were shouting angry words at me. And I was on my way to being burned at the stake because I was a druid priest. Actually, that memory sparked a memory that I had in my earlier life, in this life. Because when I had my tonsils removed when I was 9 years old. And I remember being admitted to the hospital, and the admitting clerk asked my mother what our religion was. And I spontaneously burst out and said, I'm a druid. I thought it was strange at the time because I had no idea who or what a druid was, not until many years later. It also helped explain why I have always been most comfortable wearing robes and caftans. As I mentioned yesterday, Netflix is broadcasting a documentary series called Surviving Death. And one of the episodes is dedicated to reincarnation and tells the stories of 3 boys who in their early years remembered being someone else. Of course, their fathers rejected it totally. Their fathers thought they were just imagining things. But their mothers eventually began investigating those memories because as mothers, they were concerned about their sons and what they were going through. And fortunately, they eventually learned of the work of a man named Dr. Jim B. Tucker. Jim B. Tucker, a child psychiatrist and a Bonner Lowry professor of psychiatry and neural behavior sciences at the University of Virginia School of Medicine. Dr. Tucker has dedicated his research to documenting stories of children who claim to remember previous lives. He's the author of this book, Life Before Life. It's actually Life Before Life, a scientific investigation of children's memories of previous lives. Now, one of the things that struck me most about this book was that, or about this program, was that one of the boys the boys all remembered verifiable past facts of their past lives. So, and that was kind of amazing to watch. So I can, I really advise you to watch that series if you have Netflix. It's really something, especially when these boys tell us stories of their previous lives, and you can go back in history because it's current history, and you can go back in history and actually find the information to prove what they're saying. So I asked a question yesterday: is life after death really a thing? Is it really real? And my answer was that in order for such an existence to be true, the consciousness would have to survive after the death of the brain, which would mean that the brain does not create consciousness. And as I have discussed time and time again here on this program, there is a school of theoretical physics that now holds the position that the basic state of everything is consciousness, that everything that exists, absolutely everything, comes out of consciousness. So in that paradigm, consciousness is the body. And I continually repeat to you that you are an individualized expression of infinite intelligence. You are an individualized expression of infinite intelligence, and in that context, you cannot disappear after your body dies because infinite intelligence never ends. Consciousness never ends. Now, we have situations in which the consciousness not only continued to live, but then settled in a new body and started a new life to continue its journey to spiritual perfection. Basically, as I look around the world today, there's an energetic search for the answers about what happens on the other side of that barrier that we call death. I think it's rather exciting, actually, because the answers they've come up with so far are quite encouraging, at least for me. I admit that the answers so far can be pretty unsettling for some people, while they can be pretty comforting to others. Depends on your perspective. But the bottom line is the answer seems to be yes, there is life after death. There is life after death. There is reincarnation. There are past lives. Of course, those who demand irrefutable, unshakable, concrete evidence are still safe in their bunkers of disbelief. They're still safe claiming coincidence and speculation because we don't yet have that irrefutable evidence. But I believe that infinite intelligence is opening these doors for us now because it is time for us to rise in consciousness. It's time for us to rise so that we can take on the mantle of who and what we really are. We are the divine children of God. We are individualized expressions of infinite intelligence. We are here to do a job. It is up to us to change the world. Not by going out and protesting and demonstrating or proselytizing or overpowering or fighting. No, 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 no. We are spiritual warriors, and we will change the world by our very presence as we open ourselves, our hearts, and our minds and our bodies to become channels of the light of infinite intelligence, channels of the love of infinite intelligence. Open ourselves and just be who we are, and the world will know, and infinite intelligence will take care of the rest. Let us close with prayer. Thank you, infinite intelligence. Thank you for bringing all of us together in this life so that we may become spiritual warriors and join in the work that we have come here to do. Thank you, infinite intelligence, for bringing us into this space of awareness and a deeper understanding of ourselves and our relationship to life and infinite intelligence. Thank you for showing us who we really are. We open our minds and hearts to the truth of our being. We are the children of God. We are individualized expressions of infinite intelligence. And because we are part of the greater whole, we are beginning to understand our value to the continuity of life on this planet. As we become channels of your power, infinite intelligence, we can feel your presence within ourselves and within our lives more and more. And we know that as we feel your presence within our lives, within our lives every day, we will rise because we are no longer cut off from you by being immersed in the darkness of fear, anger, and the pain of unforgiveness. So we are now restoring our connection through the grace of forgiveness, knowing that as we learn to forgive ourselves for the pain that we have caused to ourselves, and as we learn to forgive those who have inflicted pain upon us, our connections will grow stronger, and our lives will grow happier, healthier, and more prosperous. And for this, we are truly grateful. As above, so below. As within, so without. And so it is. Amen. So, thank you. Thank you for watching, spending some time with me. Please click on the thumbs up button below the video. If you haven't already done so, please choose to subscribe. And remember, I'd love to see your comments, thoughts, and questions. So please put them in the comment section below. Again, thank you for watching. My name is Reverend Andrew Bozeman, and this has been On the Wings of Your Mind.